There's a specific kind of person who sees your independence and feels something dark stir inside them. Not admiration, not curiosity, threat. Pure, visceral threat. And here's what nobody tells you. They're not threatened by what you're doing. They're threatened by what your independence exposes about their need for control. Picture this. You start making decisions without asking for opinions. Not big decisions, just everyday choices. Where you'll eat, how you'll spend your weekend, what project you'll take on. You're not being rude, you're not excluding anyone, you're just deciding. And suddenly, people start acting strange. Your coworker, who used to be friendly, starts making comments, "Wow, making all the big decisions alone now?" Your friend starts texting more frequently. "Just checking in, you've been really independent lately." Your family member starts calling it concerning. "You never ask for advice anymore. Are you okay?" You haven't changed. You're just operating as an autonomous adult. But somehow, that's become threatening. You demonstrated that you don't need their input to function. And to certain personality types, that's not just uncomfortable, it's unbearable. Because their entire sense of control depends on you needing them. And when you don't, their whole system falls apart. This isn't about healthy interdependence. This isn't about people who care about you wanting to support you. This is about 6 specific types who need to control you to feel stable themselves. And your independence, your quiet, unassuming ability to make your own choices and stand by them, threatens everything they've built their identity around. Let's start with Type 1, the advisor who needs to be needed. This person has built their entire self-worth around being the go-to source of wisdom. They're not just helpful, they need you to need their help. And when you stop asking for advice, something inside them breaks. Watch what happens when you make a decision independently. You tell them about it casually. You got a new apartment, you switched jobs, you ended a relationship. Notice their response. It's not "congratulations" or "how do you feel about it?" It's "you didn't ask me first?" That question reveals everything. Because to them, your independence isn't a sign of growth, it's a personal rejection. They'll start offering unsolicited advice more aggressively. "Well, if you had asked me, I would have told you." They'll bring up past times their advice helped you. They'll frame your independent decisions as mistakes waiting to happen, not because your choices are actually bad, but because your ability to choose without them threatens their entire identity. If you don't need their wisdom, who are they? Type 2 is the micromanager. This person needs to control the details of everything around them, not just their own life, your life too. How you do your work, how you organize your space, how you spend your time. They've convinced themselves this is about standards or efficiency, but really, it's about control, making them feel safe. You start doing things your own way, not rebelliously, just differently. You reorganize your workflow. You handle a project using your own method. You make choices about your own life without checking in, and you can feel their anxiety spike. They start hovering, asking questions. "Why are you doing it that way? Have you thought about doing it like this instead? I really think you should." Here's what they're really saying. Your independence from their system creates chaos in their need for control. They don't trust that things will work out unless they're managing every detail. So your ability to function independently and succeed is terrifying proof that their micromanagement was never necessary. It was just their anxiety dressed up as standards. Type 3, the guilt tripper. This person has mastered the art of emotional manipulation. They don't control you through direct commands. They control you through making you feel responsible for their emotional state. And your independence? That becomes evidence of your cruelty. If this is hitting close to home, hit subscribe. Content like this gets buried by algorithms. Your subscription really helps the channel. Watch how this plays out. You set a boundary. You can't make their event. You need time alone. You're choosing differently than they want. Their response isn't acceptance. It's, "I guess I'm just not important to you anymore. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me? I'm really hurt that you're choosing your choice over me." Notice the pattern? Your independent choice becomes an attack on them. They've trained you to feel responsible for their feelings, so when you make a choice that prioritizes your own needs, they frame it as abandonment, as betrayal, as proof you don't care. Not because you've actually abandoned them, but because your independence breaks the system where their emotions control your choices, and they can't allow that. Type 4 is the enmeshed family member or partner. This person has blurred all boundaries between where they end and you begin. Your life is their life. Your choices are their business. Your independence isn't just threatening, it's incomprehensible. Because in their worldview, closeness means total access and total influence. You start creating healthy separation. You don't share every detail of your day. You make decisions without consulting them first. You have parts of your life that are just yours, and they panic. "Why are you being so distant? We used to tell each other everything. I feel like I don't even know you anymore." They frame your healthy boundaries as relationship damage, as something breaking between you. But here's the truth. Nothing's breaking except their control. You're not actually distant, you're appropriately boundaried. You're not hiding things, you're maintaining privacy. You're not damaging the relationship, you're trying to make it healthy. But to someone who's enmeshed, health looks like abandonment, because they've built their entire sense of connection on having no boundaries, and your independence threatens that entire structure. Type 5, the status seeker who needs your compliance. This person measures their worth by how much influence they have over others. In friend groups, they're the unspoken leader. In families, they're the decision maker everyone defers to. At work, they're the one whose opinion matters most. Their status depends on people complying with their preferences. But you stop complying. Not rebelliously, just authentically. You disagree in meetings. You choose differently in social situations. You don't automatically defer to their preferences. And suddenly, they start targeting you, making subtle digs about your choices, questioning your judgment in front of others, framing your independence as arrogance. Someone thinks they're too good to go along with the group. I guess not everyone values team cohesion. What they're really upset about, your independence disrupts the hierarchy they've built their identity on. If you can make your own choices and be fine, what does that say about their influence? If you don't need their approval, what happens to their status? So they try to punish you back into compliance. Not because your independence is actually harmful, but because it threatens their entire social positioning. And finally, type 6, the covert narcissist. This is the darkest one. This person doesn't just need control, they need your identity to revolve around them. They need to be the center of your world, your decisions, your emotional life. And they accomplish this not through obvious grandiosity, but through playing the victim, the martyr, the misunderstood one who needs you. Your independence becomes their crisis. You start prioritizing your own needs, setting boundaries, making choices that don't center them. And suddenly, everything becomes about how you're hurting them, how your choices are proof you never really cared, how your independence is actually cruelty disguised as self-care. They'll cry, they'll rage, they'll give you silent treatment, they'll threaten to harm themselves, anything to pull you back into their orbit. Because here's what covert narcissists understand instinctively: independent people can't be controlled. If you have your own identity, your own goals, your own emotional stability, you can leave. You can see through their manipulation. You can prioritize yourself. And that That possibility that you might not need them is intolerable. So they create crisis after crisis to keep you focused on managing their emotions instead of building your own life. Here's what connects all 6 types. They've built their entire sense of stability on your dependence. The advisor needs you to need their wisdom. Without you asking for guidance, they lose their entire purpose, their identity crumbles, and they're left wondering who they are if they're not the person everyone turns to. The micromanager needs you to follow their system. Your ability to succeed with your own method exposes that their control was never about standards or efficiency. It was always about managing their anxiety by controlling every detail around them. The guilt tripper needs you to prioritize their feelings. If you can make choices that serve your needs without drowning in guilt about their emotional response, their entire manipulation strategy falls apart, and they lose the lever they've used to control you for years. The enmeshed one needs you to have no boundaries. Your healthy separation terrifies them because they've built their sense of connection on total access, and without knowing every detail of your life and having influence over every choice, they feel abandoned even though you're just being appropriately separate. The status seeker needs you to defer to their influence. If you can disagree, choose differently, and be fine without their approval, their entire social positioning becomes irrelevant, and they're just another voice in the room instead of the authority everyone must respect. The covert narcissist needs you to revolve around them. Your independent identity, your own goals, your emotional stability that doesn't depend on managing their crises. All of it threatens their ability to keep you trapped in their orbit, where they remain the center of your entire world. And your independence, your quiet, steady ability to make your own choices, trust your own judgment, and maintain your own identity, threatens all of it. Not because you're doing anything to them, but because you're not doing anything for their control needs anymore. You're just existing as a separate, autonomous person, and to these 6 types, that's unacceptable, because their entire emotional regulation system depends on having power over you. The advisor feels purposeful when you need their guidance. Without that, they face the terrifying question of whether they have any value beyond being needed. The micromanager feels safe when they control the details. Your independence introduces chaos into their carefully managed world and spikes their anxiety to unbearable levels. The guilt tripper feels important when their emotions dictate your choices. If you stop letting guilt control you, they lose their primary tool for getting what they want. The enmeshed person feels connected through total access. Boundaries feel like rejection to them because they've never learned that real intimacy includes privacy and autonomy. The status seeker feels powerful through compliance. Every person who defers to them confirms their importance, and your refusal disrupts that entire feedback loop. The covert narcissist feels stable when you're focused on them. The moment you prioritize yourself, they create crisis after crisis to pull your attention back where they need it, on managing their emotional state instead of building your own life. Psychologists call this enmeshment anxiety. The panic people feel when someone they've been controlling starts establishing autonomy. It's not about love or care or concern. It's about their nervous system being regulated by their control over you. And when that control slips, they don't respond with support for your growth. They respond with punishment designed to pull you back in. Because here's what most people don't understand about control. It's not always loud or obvious. It doesn't always look like screaming or threats or violence. Sometimes control is soft. It's concern that feels suffocating. It's help that creates dependence. It's closeness that eliminates boundaries. It's advice that undermines your confidence. It's questions that feel like interrogation. It's emotional reactions that train you to prioritize their comfort over your autonomy. And all of it, every single tactic, is designed to keep you in a position where they maintain influence over your choices, your time, your energy, your life. When you start establishing independence, when you start making choices without their input, when you start trusting yourself more than you trust their guidance, their entire system breaks down. And that breakdown doesn't feel like freedom to them. It feels like loss of control. It feels like abandonment. It feels like you're doing something wrong. So they respond not with celebration of your growth, but with systematic efforts to make you doubt yourself enough to come back under their influence. The punishment is systematic. First, they'll question your judgment. Are you sure that's a good idea? Then they'll predict failure. I just don't want to see you get hurt. Then they'll withdraw warmth. Suddenly, you're getting shorter responses, colder interactions, passive-aggressive comments. Then they'll recruit others. I'm really worried about them. They've been making some strange choices lately. All of it designed to make you doubt yourself enough to come back under their influence. And here's how insidious this progression is. Each step feels reasonable in isolation. Of course, people who care about you might question a big decision. That's normal concern, right? Of course, they might worry about potential consequences. That's just looking out for you, isn't it? Of course, they might pull back a bit if they feel hurt by your distance. That's a natural emotional response, surely. Of course, they might talk to others if they're genuinely concerned. That's just seeking support, correct? But when you see the pattern, when you recognize that every single step is designed to erode your confidence in your own judgment and make you feel like you need their approval to make valid choices, it stops looking like care and starts looking like what it actually is, a systematic campaign to restore their control. The questioning isn't about protecting you, it's about planting seeds of doubt. The predictions of failure aren't about wisdom, they're about making you afraid to proceed without them. The withdrawal isn't about their hurt feelings, it's about punishing you for independence until you come back seeking their warmth. The recruitment of others isn't about genuine concern, it's about building a coalition of voices all telling you the same thing, that your independence is concerning and you should really listen to those who know better. And here's the cruelest part. They'll frame all of this as love, as concern, as them trying to protect you. The advisor will say they just want what's best for you. The micromanager will say they're just trying to help. The guilt tripper will say they're just being honest about their feelings. The enmeshed one will say they just want to be close. The status seeker will say they're just giving feedback. The covert narcissist will say they're just hurt by your distance. But it's not love. Love supports autonomy. Love celebrates growth. Love respects boundaries. Love doesn't panic when you make your own choices. What these 6 types are doing, the questioning, the anxiety, the punishment, the manipulation, that's not love. That's control. And here's how you know the difference. Real love gives you space to make your own choices, even when those choices are different from what the other person would choose. Real love trusts your judgment, even when it diverges from their advice. Real love maintains connection, even when you set boundaries. Real love celebrates your independence as a sign of your strength, not as a threat to the relationship. But control? Control needs you to choose what they would choose. Control needs you to follow their advice to validate their wisdom. Control can't tolerate boundaries because boundaries limit access. Control sees your independence as abandonment because your autonomy threatens their power. So when someone frames their control as love, pay attention to how they respond to your independence. Do they celebrate your growth or do they punish it? Do they support your choices or do they undermine them? Do they respect your boundaries or do they violate them? The answer tells you everything about whether what you're experiencing is love or control disguised as care. But it's not love. Love supports autonomy. Love celebrates independence. Love doesn't panic when you make your own choices. What these 6 types are doing, the questioning, the anxiety, the punishment, the manipulation, that's not love, that's control. And control always fears independence, because independence means they lose power over you. Control needs dependence to survive. It needs you to believe you can't make good choices without guidance. It needs you to feel guilty for prioritizing your own needs. It needs you to stay enmeshed because separation feels like abandonment. It needs you to comply because your refusal disrupts the hierarchy. It needs you to stay focused on managing the controller's emotions because your independence threatens their entire system. And when you start recognizing these patterns, when you start seeing control for what it is instead of accepting it as care, something shifts. You stop internalizing their predictions of failure as wisdom and start recognizing them as fear of losing influence. You stop drowning in guilt over their hurt feelings and start understanding that their emotional reactions are designed to manipulate you back into compliance. You stop believing that closeness requires total access and start building relationships with healthy boundaries. You stop automatically deferring to their preferences and start trusting your own judgment. You stop managing their emotional crises and start prioritizing your own stability. And that shift, that moment when you see clearly what's been happening, that's when you reclaim your power. Not power over them, but power over your own life, your own choices, your own autonomy that they've been slowly eroding under the guise of love and concern and care. So if you're the person who started trusting your own judgment, making your own choices, setting your own boundaries, know this. These 6 types will feel threatened. They'll frame your independence as abandonment, as arrogance, as concerning behavior. They'll try to guilt you, manipulate you, punish you back into dependence, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your autonomy threatens their entire system of control. Your independence isn't the problem. Their need to control you is the problem. Stay autonomous, not because they'll eventually understand, they won't, because understanding would require admitting they need control more than they need connection. Stay autonomous because you've discovered something they're too afraid to allow, that you're capable of making your own choices, trusting your own judgment, and building your own life. Let them feel threatened. Their threat response just confirms you've found something they're too controlling to permit: your own power.